Okay, so I just want to address some of the things that were said in the comments and go a little bit further into why I don't think it's realistic at all that GoPro will be putting a 1-inch sensor into its newest camera. Now, one of the main reasons is because no such sensor exists from Sony. Yes, there are 4K sensors that are 1-inch, but importantly, they are lower resolution than the HERO11, and GoPro is extremely unlikely to want to make a camera that has less resolution than the previous one, particularly when you've got this 8x7 mode and they're making a big thing about the fact that you can reframe it for vertical or for horizontal with no loss of resolution or quality. That's quite an important factor, and I don't see them going back on that with the next iteration of the GoPro. So that's one big reason why I don't think it'll happen. Now, the other reason is going back to the idea of minimum focus distance. One person pointed out that he didn't think a lot of people needed close focus for an action camera because it was mostly mounted on a helmet, but that's not really true. GoPro make cameras for all sorts of scenarios, and close focus is very important. One prime example is if you think back to some of the promo videos where they've had a base jumper and the camera's been mounted on a short pole on the base jumper's helmet looking back at that person. That requires close focus. Having a minimum focus distance of around 1 meter will not work in that scenario, and won't work in a great many scenarios where these cameras are being used. So the close focus is very important. And you know, someone else pointed out that there's the Sony RX02. Yes, there is. It is 4K, but overall it is less resolution than the GoPro. And as I said, GoPro is not going to go and make a new camera with less resolution than the previous one. Aside from that, if you notice that the RX02 can do autofocus and it's contrast detect, and that kind of system will add quite a bit of complexity and expense to a GoPro. I don't think that having any kind of mechanical adjustments inside the lens is something that GoPro would ever go for. And as well as that, the RX0, if you notice, is stopped down to f4. It's not a fast lens, it's not f2.8 or faster, it's f4, as I suspect GoPro would need to do if they did install a 1-inch sensor into the next GoPro. They would need to stop down, and that reduces your low light advantage from having a larger sensor in the first place. On top of that, if you you stop down but you need higher resolution on the sensor, well, that increases your pixel density, which again reduces your low light advantage. So when you combine the additional pixel density you'll need to create the resolution that GoPro would want, and then you combine that with the need to stop down the lens so that you can increase the depth of field on it, then you start to lose all your advantages for low light that you might have thought that you had in the first place. Now, it might still be better than a smaller sensor, but it's whether or not it's worth the effort and whether or not that gives you more advantages than keeping with the small sensor, because small sensors do have advantages. It's not all bad, and in a small camera like the GoPro, it is actually an advantage. So those are my additional reasons as to why I don't think GoPro will put a 1-inch sensor into the next camera. And certainly you're not going to get 4K at 240 frames per second. No such sensor exists in any way, shape or form, and certainly not with 8K at 60 frames per second. That's just simply not going to happen. Much as everyone would love it to be a reality, it's just not realistic at all. So those are my further thoughts based upon comments that were made on the last video. I'm really quite surprised at how that video took off. For me, with my very, very small channel, it's had over 4,000 views in 2 days, which you know, in GoPro terms isn't very high, but for me, yeah, it's a pretty high number of views, so I'm quite surprised by that. And you know, thank you for all the positive comments that that people have made on that video. So I'll be trying to produce a lot more in-depth and polished content going forward, but occasionally you might get these type of blogging style updates occasionally, just to address some of the things that people have said. But yeah, if you like what I do, like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.